Some are comparing this latest crisis to the city's crack epidemic.
The New York Post calls it Zombieland. The Daily News, Street of Zombies.
People call them K2 zombies. That's because that's exactly what they look like when they're high. And the scene today, it really looked like something out of Night of the Living Dead. Users mindlessly stumbling through the streets of Bed-Stuy in the middle of the day, passing out on the street, twitching and vomiting.
It's synthetic marijuana. On the street, it's called Spice, or K2. The drug is so strong, people go into a zonked-out state. Sometimes it can even turn peaceful people into crazies.
But they weren't crazies. Summer of 2016 saw hundreds of New Yorkers under the influence of synthetic cannabinoids, a chemical cocktail made to mimic cannabis, but delivering an addictive effect more similar to heroin. Bought in bodegas across the city, it was a $5 high that pushed Brooklyn's medical infrastructure to the brink.
Between the 19th of May 2018 and the 22nd of May 2018, we had 84 cases within 3 days, 84 cases of K2 overdose. And those cases were geographically clustered. Over 80% of those cases came from the same neighborhoods on Metro Avenue and Broadway.
It's unfortunate because I think that there were tough times in communities like this, and especially in that intersection. You know, there was a period when Broadway was burned to the ground. And the only stores that were there were bodegas. So the bodega served as, you know, your de facto grocery store. It served so many purposes and transformed over the years, and people have used it, quite frankly, to traffic drugs in the past, illegal substances, everything from marijuana. The funny thing was K2, before legislation was put in place to make it illegal, was something that you could sell over the counter. Right. Initially, a lot of people, when the legislation was passed, didn't even know that now it was illegal for them to sell. So what happened was it actually evolved from the sale inside bodegas to what we call runners, who were loosely associated with those bodegas, who were doing the sales on the street, again, loosely associated with the bodegas, because that had become a very lucrative business for a bodega. That, cigarettes, and beer.
All device.
All the devices in one place.
Yeah.
You know, it's hard to tell a store owner when, you know, 20% of his revenue is generated around those three substances to be a good corporate citizen in the community. But what we know is when people were educated, when people were penalized in some degrees, we saw a tremendous change in the attitudes around the sale from bodegas. But bodegas are a central part of interaction in communities of color and have been for a long time.
These laws together send a clear message to anyone who sells this poison. We will find you and we will stop you. And our message to anyone who uses the drug and needs help is, we are here to help you. Help is available, treatment is available, so people can get out of the clutches of this awful drug.
Our city is not alone in the fight against K2. Scenes similar to Bed-Stuy 2016 have played out in New Haven, Connecticut, Washington, D.C., and Manchester in the United Kingdom, where 60 to 90% of the street homeless were users before the government banned the so-called legal high. Beyond just say no and the old egg in the frying pan demo, New York City undertook a three-pronged approach to eradicating K2: legislate, enforce, and rehabilitate.
What I would say is that we've actually begun to decrease the amount of usage through many means. One is NYPD focused primarily on the supplier and not the user, which was unique for our communities, right? Because usually the end user, whether it's marijuana, whether it's heroin, is really the target. And this time there was a collaborative effort around going after who was manufacturing and who was supplying, and then providing the end user with the services necessary to get help, which was something that I hadn't seen before from our community. Usually when law enforcement shows up, it's primarily to make arrests, right? They're not social service, we understand that. but they took a different approach here. And so did the legislators took a different approach here to begin to reduce the harm by impacting those that looked to sell, distribute, manufacture. It's obvious that the law enforcement heavy model around substance and alcohol abuse hasn't worked, right? I don't think we've seen a reduction based on arrest, but we have seen a reduction based on, I believe, empathy and compassion for the end user.